is Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides, but not in terms of here's 20 minutes on Docs and here's 5 minutes on, it really is, if you understand how to use Docs, Sheets, or if you understand how to use Docs, and by use I mean share those docs, edit those docs, that kind of thing. If you know how to do that, it works the same way for slides. It works the same way for sheets. So what you won't walk out of here doing is understanding completely. If you don't know how to use a spreadsheet right now, you won't walk out of here knowing how to use a spreadsheet. But you will, if you know how to use Excel, you'll say, oh, okay, I understand how I can do the same thing that I do in Docs with Sheets. Now, all that being said, if you are someone who is using Google Classroom, I'm a big believer in making sure you understand the guts of what happens with the Google Doc and how you share it and how you get it. If you use Classroom, it makes a lot of this very, very easy, because Classroom will help you, it'll help you with the sharing features, okay? So what I'm going to do is open up, I'm in Drive, and if you were here last week, I said I always recommend starting in Drive, because when you hit the new button, it brings up folder, file upload, folder upload, and then you have your three choices, Docs, Sheets, or Slides. So if you want to do this and just go to Google Docs, and then we'll kind of talk through what's going on the page. And it's very basic, just being very basic about it, it's Word. I mean, that's all it is. You could treat this completely like a Word document. So along this top set of toolbars, you have those types of things that you would have in Word. You know, if you want to make this Times New Roman, 18-point font, you can do that. If you want to bold something, italicize it, underline it, add a hyperlink, right justify it, left justify it. So all of those things, in the same way, if you're in Slides, it's the same thing that you have.
My Drive.
Yep, so now you go to New.
Right.
And then Docs.
Okay.
Yep. So when you're in Slides, if you know how to use PowerPoint, you're going to have the same kind of choices in Slides that you have in PowerPoint. Some people ask the question, well, can I change my toolbar the way that I do in Word? The simple answer is no. Because it is web-based, you're not going to quite be able to have that level of functionality, but what I found is that they tend to put on that top toolbar line the things that you need most of the time. If you get up here to, like File, and again, it's probably hard seeing it here, but if you want to open that up, you have, I'm going to skip some of these options. I'll just kind of talk through, and I'm just sitting here debating. This whole time I thought starting with this, but yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. So there's share, we'll talk about share because I think the easiest way is that blue rectangle on the right hand side. New is just like in Word, you can start a new document, you can rename something. This make a copy. The question always comes up, okay, so-and-so has sent me this document, and they've given me view-only privileges. I can't really do anything with it. You can always go to File and make a copy, and then it will say copy of whatever that document is, and then it becomes yours. And that is, in essence, the philosophy of Google. It's kind of like everybody is in this together. So it's very difficult to make something completely private. There are ways that you can prevent somebody from making a copy, but only because we're Google Apps for Education. So you could, if there was something that you didn't want a kid to make a copy of, I can show you where you make that check mark at. See revision history. that is where, and then let me just kind of cover these, because the problem is we don't have anything on the document. Some of these don't make as much sense. That is where you can go and see all those revisions that were made over time. So if it's a collaborative document and you've got your class working on it, you can see what each student has added to it. These become important if you are, by these I mean download as or email as attachment. If you're working with someone who is Google Apps, so students in the school or teachers in the district, you should never have to worry about this. If you get something, I was just dealing, Lisa Barra has a scholarship committee, and the scholarship committee reads these scholarships that students turn in. Well, the Kiwanis, there were like 3 of them that did not want Google Docs. They're like, wait, I don't even know what to do with these. So what she had to do is download them as PDFs and then be able to send it to them. You can download it as a Word doc. So there are ways, if you're working with someone who doesn't work with, or only works with Microsoft, there are ways of being able to do that. If you go across the top here, again, editing, it's similar to what you would do in Word. You can find and replace, you can select all, you can paste. Viewing, you can see the print layout, you can see different modes, and we'll talk about this editing, suggesting viewing. Insert, the same, in fact, if you look, it's basically the same kinds of things that you would have within Word. You can put your page breaks in, formatting. I want to talk about the tools just for a second, because there's one that people love, but I'm having a hard time with it on the network, and I don't know why. I sent Tony an email a couple of days ago asking him why it's doing it. Google just made an update that allows for voice typing, and at home, it is spectacular. I mean, it's accurate. It is pretty easy once you get used to it. As soon as I connect to the school Wi-Fi, it doesn't work. So there's obviously something with our filter, something that's going on that's preventing that. But now there are, you can spell check, you can open up the research pane. This word count, do you work with word counts anymore? I mean, that used to, like when I was in school, that's how an assignment was given. Write a 500-word essay. I mean, I never did that once I started teaching. I will tell you where the word count has become helpful. There are some teachers that, even though we don't have access to Twitter, they're trying to get their kids used to that as a form of, as a voice that you have. It's very nice when you only have 140 characters. You can, if you do word count, it will actually tell you how many characters you have. When kids at the high school level write college essays, a lot of them, they have to have, no more than 1,000 words. And so Google has allowed you to do that as well. You can insert tables just like you can in Word. These add-ons are something that, again, a little bit more advanced once you get into using Google Docs. Okay, I'm going to sit down here so I can do this. I am going to, if you're not on Classroom, go ahead and open up Classroom, because I'm going to send you something to show you what happens with a document, with this share. So I'm going to open up Classroom as well. So if you go to classroom.google, some of you, for some, the easy way is if you're on Drive, and you go to this little waffle, and you go here, and sometimes under More, people will have Classroom. Sometimes people don't. And I've called Google, they can't give me an explanation as to why that doesn't show up. But if you just type in, especially if you're in Chrome, classroom.google, you don't even have to finish .com, and it will open it up. So I'm going to get myself to the Monday Professional Development. I think the hardest thing for people to understand about docs and slides and sheets is how it's different from Word. Like, I hear people say, well, I don't know why we're going to, I don't really want to go to Gmail, but I'm not going to start using this Google Docs or Sheets, because it's no different than Word. It's very different from Word. On one hand, I understand where they're coming from. It's a word processor. I mean, it's not rocket science, it's a word processor. On the other hand, what this blue button allows you to do is way better than what Microsoft has. Now, Microsoft has this capability. They will tell you it's free. It's not the same capability. They're running behind. It will eventually be there, but right now they're behind with that. So I go in and I type whatever it is that I want to type. And in the old days, this was my document, and it wasn't your document. And if I wanted you to see that document, I downloaded it, and then I attached it, or I shouldn't say downloaded it, I saved it. And then if I wanted my own copy, then I did a save as, so I could do a different name on it. So now I've got the same file, but 2 different names. And then I'd attach it to the document, and I'd say, Ben, can you go in and tell me what you think of this? And then Ben would save it, and then he would type on it, and then he'd save it again, and then he'd upload it and send it to me. And now I don't know which document I'm working with. I have to start looking at the times that things were shared. With a Google Doc, or a Google Slide, or a Google Sheet, it is a matter of deciding what you want to do with this, deciding who you want to share with, what kind of level of access you want them to have, and this box right here becomes really important. Because what you can do is you can enter in a name. So if I wanted to share this with Ben, and only Ben, and I wanted to tell Ben he can have editing access, I go here, I add Ben with his email, and you always want to use the MCUSD for Google, because you won't be able to do the things that you want them to do by using the Morton 709. I can see Ben's face here, so I know it's going to him, and then I say send. Now, Ben's going to get an email, but I always go to Drive, and if Ben goes to Drive, he's going to see under Shared With Me, this is a document that is shared. So Ben, when you do that, and then I will do this for everybody, I'll show you a different way of doing it. I want you to notice right up here, and we're all putting pressure on Ben to find this thing.
Where am I going?
If you go to My Drive, or go to Google Drive,
Yeah.
and then Shared With Me.
Oh, I opened the document.
Oh, you did? Okay, there it is.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm typing, Ben could be in Hawaii at this point in time. I know Ben's part of the document, and so now Ben can add to it.
I'm trying to type, but I'm not getting anything out of this because you know what I did? I think I turned on another keyboard now. Let me try it. In Hawaii.
And again, we're looking, like sometimes people go, well, there's a lag, but you have to remember, if the person's not in the room with you, you would never know there was a lag, so you wouldn't even notice it. But I can see everybody who's up here. Now, let's say that I want to go back and I hit share again. Here it says, this is shared with Ben Zoss. I can click on this, I can click on Ben's name, and now let's say that, let's say Ben keeps putting stuff that's just not really appropriate. But I want Ben to still be able to see it. I can go here and say, well, Ben can no longer edit this. He can now only view it. And then I can go down here, and here's where I was commenting, owner settings, disable options to download, print, and copy for commenters and viewers. So I can go in here and say, I want to check that. I'm going to save changes. Now, and you can't see it, we won't spend a lot of time with Ben, but Ben would not, now he may have access for a few seconds, but as soon as...
It does say access denied now.
Okay, it says access denied, and it says view only. He wouldn't be able to make a copy of this document, okay? So now I can go up here, so I can share with individual people. I can share with MHS all teachers. Those groups that we have in Outlook or in Exchange are also here. So if you wanted to give everybody in your building editing privileges on a document, you can do that. What a lot of people will use is this shareable link. And please, please, please tell me if I'm talking, this stuff is second nature to me, and sometimes people are like, okay, I don't really know what you're talking about. So you can share with individual people. Or you can click this shareable link, which is right here at the top corner of the box. It defaults to anyone at Morton Community Unit District 709 with the link can view. Okay, so what that means is you have to have an MCUSD 709 email to view this. If you select in here, now you open up some other options. Anyone with District 709 with the link can edit.
Wait, where did you go? Oh, okay.
If you just click into this drop down, so you can say, no, I don't want the link to do anything. I only want to share this with Ben. Yeah, exactly, because I'm going to actually send this document to you in just a second with to Classroom and show you. So now you brought down this drop-down menu. Anyone in Morton Unit District with the link can edit. This saves you, let's say you've got 10 people that you want to edit this document. You don't want to go through and say, okay, I'm going to share this with Rosie, I'm going to share this with Dawn, I'm going to share this. You don't want to do that. Just get the link. Now the danger is, whoever has that link is going to be able to edit. So you might, in an email to someone, say, hey, this link is only for you 10, so please don't share it, but here's the link to it. It will open up this document and allow them to edit. That makes sense? I saw a couple of like wrinkled brows.
Well, if you're gonna send it to a bunch of people and then write a note saying only these 10 people, isn't it just better to send it to 10 people? It sounds.
I mean, yes, the problem is the time it takes to put those 10 people in, just those 10 people. But yeah, you can.
Did you say everyone, so I could type in MHS math?
Yes.
So I would, like, if I'm sending something to the department, that's easy.
Yep, that's easy if you're sending it to your department. Now, here's the other one, this more. And here's where the only people that are going to be able to do anything with these links, if I select one of these three, is you have to have something in CUSD709.org. So a student or a teacher or staff. If you want parents to have access to something, you've got to click this more. And now what you do is you have some different options. You can make this public on the web. You can make it anyone with the link. This is what you would want if you're sending something to parents. On anyone with the link. And now here's where, stop me if this doesn't make sense. When I was back here, and I'm going to go, when I was back here and I clicked on it, I had three choices. They can edit, they can comment, or they can view. As soon as I click more, it changes. Now I say anyone with the link down here, what can they do with it? They can either edit, comment, or view. I would say 9 times out of 10, you're going to probably send something, if it's to a parent, that you just want them to be able to view. So you would select Can View, and you do Save, and now when you go here, this has changed. Anyone with the link can view.
Now, if a parent doesn't have a Gmail account?
And they do not need a Gmail account in order to view.
Well, open just like as a Word document then?
In order to edit, they have to have an account. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this, and here's all you have to do. Like, people get confused and like copy link. And I've watched people and they're like, copy link, this is not doing anything, and they're copying it. It literally is copying it to your clipboard. So once it says link is copied, I'm going to go in here to the classroom, and I'm going to post an announcement So-
Can you give an example of something that you would send out, for people outside of the district that you just want them to view versus?
Your rules,
So then, an example of something that you would want them to edit.
class sign up for, who's bringing Kleenexes, who's bringing that might be an example of what you would, have people edit. And that's the hardest part of Google's doc sheets and slides. It is really a different way of thinking about things. It's taking things, I would say anything that is paper that you give to parents, that you need the parent to return, is in some way maybe beneficial to send them a doc or a sheet or a slide that can be edited. Now, you would want to watch, if you sent everybody a document and told them to put, you wouldn't do this, but, hey, here's this doc, put your social security number on it. And everybody can tear, you wouldn't want to do that, but really starting to think about, and I'm thinking of within class, brainstorming, or even with parents. Hey, we're trying to figure out what field trip we want to do this year. Here's a document. If you've got a Gmail account, here's a document. Give some ideas as to what you think might be good, or what would you be willing to come in and talk to the class about. All of those types of things are nice because other people can see. I think I know my wife is like this. My daughter would get something at school and she'd be like, hey, what would you like to bring to the carnival? And my wife would sit there and go, is this too much or not enough? Well, then when you start seeing other people, then you're like, oh, okay, well, it's all right to bring 2 2-liter bottles of soda. I don't have to go and have the 4 dozen cookies that are professionally made there. So is everybody in the test doc session? If you go to Classroom, you should now see this.
Stream was updated. You have to click on at the bottom left, which says stream is updated.
Yeah, most of the time the stream will update on. So if you go
Wait,
to
do
the
you
very
have to?
top, go ahead and just hit refresh.
Well, I did, but not from something that I need, so that's happening.
Oh, no, you're in it.
I know, I'm in view only right now.
Okay.
Okay, so if you click on the test doc session,
Yeah. Is there a way to unshare?
tell me what you can do with that document.
Nothing.
Yep, does it say view only?
Yeah.
Yep. So now I can see everybody who is logging in, or everybody who's viewing this, I can see that, but they only have view access. So I can go in and, I can add what I want to, and you can see it, correct? Real time, okay? I can go back here to share, and I heard somebody say, can you unshare something? You can always unshare something. You can take privileges away. So if I go here to share, now I'm going to give you the ability to edit. It is the same link. All I've done is change the permissions, and I click done. Now, try the doc. And you may have to refresh.
How do you?
Yep.
Okay, the view should have gone away. Now you have editing privileges to that doc. And here's what I want these professional development things, okay, so this is the guts of it. Now you start thinking about how you can use this. This becomes a brainstorming document. And right away, the initial thought that people have is, there is no way my kids could do this. The first time, it is a bit weird. The first time, it is a bit awkward. But once kids get used to doing this, and they start claiming their real estate, and maybe they space down a few, and then there's somebody in class who's the cleaner-upper, and they go in when you say stop, and they go in and take out all the spaces, or maybe the cleaner-upper is the person who you've added that can edit it. You unshare it with everybody else so they have to stop. But that person that can clean it up actually still has access to it.
Now, what I've noticed, we did some, like we used our iPads for a shared document,
Mhm.
and I had like tabbed down to start typing my thing because everyone else was typing. The document kept moving as people were typing. It didn't stay fixed. I don't have that problem on my PC, but like when I did it on the
Because it
iPad,
should stay
kept-
wherever you're typing.
Yeah, it didn't though. I thought it was interesting. I didn't know if that was just a fluke, but.
I don't know, I'd have to look at that, because I thought, I mean, the iPad, there's no question, is a little bit different when it comes to this. Now, I want to go back here. So now we've got a bunch of things on the screen. Here's where, from a teaching perspective, I think this becomes like, let's say the students are turning in their papers here. And let's say they're turning in a rough draft. This is, if you see here, this is not available on the iPad right now. It probably will be, but I find that most teachers, if they're going to grade papers, they're going to probably grade them within their PC or their Mac. The code for Classroom is 28R0 bus.
I thought, what?
Okay.
Wasn't even hooked on?
So if you look right here, you've got three choices. You've got editing, you've got suggesting, or you've got viewing. Okay, so let's say that this is, you're grading the paper. I would highly suggest, well, okay, if you use editing, if I go here and I say I can add, and I want to get rid of that, I'm an editor. I can actually backspace and get rid of that. If I do suggesting, let's say I highlight this, and I say, I don't think you should have that there, and I hit delete. Now notice in the top right corner, I have suggesting rather than editing. Now I hit delete, it crosses it out, but it does not impact the text itself. What it tells the kid is, you probably should delete this. If you are the student, you can go in and say, I accept that suggestion, or I can go in and edit that as a student, you know, because then I can move up here and go to editing, and now I can say, okay, I really did want to get rid of that particular statement. So it's really fairly easy to grade on an iPad. You can make comments. This little comment box right here next to the link, if you highlight something and say time to go again, notice how off to the side this little comment button pops up. And then what happens to yours when I hit comment?
It shows your name.
Yep, it's highlighted and it shows what comment I had to make. You can then resolve that as a student.
So like I've had, like in the past, we've done Google Docs where they use the Google Doc for a writing assignment and they turn it in, but they've created their own Google Docs. So in order for me to be able to edit, do they have to on their end select that I have editing privileges?
Correct. And this is where Classroom becomes
So that
beneficial.
I can just submit the blank document.
Exactly. Because in one of the weeks we are going to talk about Classroom. With Classroom, what that allows you to do is say, I want to name this document test doc session, even if it's blank. I send it out on Classroom. It makes a copy for every kid and it automatically makes you an editor. But yes, if a student created their own document and then you needed to edit it, you would not be able to edit it until they actually added you as an editor, which I think is a good skill to teach them how to do. I'm going to go to Drive, and I'm going to show you, and you don't necessarily have to open one up, but a Google slide. So PowerPoint, you notice it's essentially the same thing. You've got the same options. The share looks exactly the same as it does with Google Docs. So I don't think we have to spend time on this part of it. Here's one, I think. Oh yeah, and I'll go back and show you revision history and the other one. The one thing I want to talk about with slides is, I think, see, I'm trying to, please don't take offense at this. PowerPoint is way overused. I mean, we tend to, and I did it when I was in the classroom. I put everything on it that I wanted the kids to know. I was the one that made the PowerPoint. They were the ones that viewed the PowerPoint. What is nice about Google Slides, if I go here and I create a new slide, so I'm going to create, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to share this, and I'm going to get a shareable link, and I'm going to say anybody with the link can edit. I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to go back here in Classroom, and I'm going to create an announcement. And I'm going to paste the link. Now what I'm going to tell you is, okay, we're working on whatever, planets or whatever it might be. Your slide 1, your slide 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, and you don't have to, but if you open this up, your job is to go to your slide and do whatever the instructions were. This, oh, you know what? Now, if you tried to get in, I hadn't hit done yet. Did it work? Okay.
Where do we go?
Yeah, and now it's an assignment on, or I'm sorry, not an assignment. It's an announcement on Classroom.
Slide 4. Right.
And then if you hit refresh again, I mean, this could be something that if you have kids, you know, read a book and they're supposed to give the main idea of the book, tell their favorite character of the book, a very, very easy way of doing that. The other thing that we tend to think about PowerPoint is everybody has to have 18-point font. Everybody has to be able to see it because it's going to be projected. You don't have to look at slides that way. I mean, you can type paragraphs into it.
Change the layout. Sorry, let me call myself.
Yeah, and then, and what I like about this too,
Change it back.
is it lets kids figure out, and I know, depending on the grade level and the, you know, you're going to have that kid that always wants to change the theme. And then that becomes a discussion point that the theme changes for everyone. I went to a conference up in Chicago a month or so ago, and there were probably 150 people in the conference room, and he said, here it is, this is what I want you to do, what's your favorite place to vacation? And he had just created like 150 slides. And it was awesome because what you had then is this running record for of everybody in the room. You could kind of see where people were. Now, in that case, it was just an example. He said what he had done is he would give assignments like vocabulary words. So the vocabulary word would be the title. And then you give the definition. Then what he would ask groups to do is, okay, your task is to alphabetize those. And so now they're going over to the side, now they're actually moving them around into what order they need to be in, and all of them had access to everything that they were working on. I mean,
I could see this useful. I was invited into a second grade classroom today, and the students had written opinion letters, and they could have typed them here, and some of them had common themes where there were several students who wanted art as an option, so they could. Can they comment on this similar to commenting on a document?
Yep.
Okay.
So if they have editing privileges, they also have commenting privileges.
But if you change your things, then it changes. Sorry, it just.
So if
I was doing it by.
someday oh, okay. So let me show you one feature of this that I think is really nice.
That'd be fun.
This is my slide.
It's the same as docs. It's the same in slides. If I go here, and this says, this is my slide, someday I will be as cool as Rosie. I'm sensing it was Rosie.
No.
Okay.
Mine's on.
Oh.
Did you see her? Did you look
Two
at
down.
her?
I'm two down.
Look at hers and see why I like the picture. Oh, look at that.
Oh, okay. So now, but I wanna go here and see, like, let's say it's something,
You were right.
No, I couldn't remember how to.
Like, we can't comment on other slides,
Yeah, it's
right?
on here.
you have to, with a comment, something has to be selected.
Oh, I got it, so.
So if I highlight,
Okay.
if I go in, if I highlight Rosie and then this comment feature right here, and add a comment.
Got it. Nice. So like I commented on the cover. So
On-
students on Lindsay Welch's.
Yep.
So students could go in and say, I agree, art would be a great thing to add to Jefferson School too.
And actually, you know what I just noticed? I've not used comments really on slides. The comment is on the slide as a whole. It looks like.
So what about if you present? Will it be there or no?
No. If you present,
Okay.
it is not there. Now, you might,
Well, that looks pretty snazzy.
yes. Google Slides, if your person uses PowerPoint, you'll like Slides. I mean, it has really the same kind of functionality. What I was going to show you though is this. Okay, like here. I want to know who said this. I didn't require a name. If I go up here to File, and then I do See Revision History, I can actually go through and tell what changes were made to each slide. And so I know that, Kate, was this you? Yeah, it's a little harder with slides to do it, but if I go back to docs, let's do this test doc session. I can go here and say, see revision history. Here are all the people who commented, or made a comment, made a revision on the screen. So if your requirement in class is you need to at least post one thing on the document, you can tell right away, okay, it looks like everybody did. If I want to see who made this one, I can go here and say, well, it looks like Teresa made that. So there is some accountability within groups for students that they have actually contributed.
Don, it's kind of hard to see up there in the corner, it's color coded, right?
Yes,
People's names are, yeah.
So
It
what
is.
did you click
So
on to do that?
Teresa is pink. File and then revision history. Okay.
Oh, I see.
you can see there were 15 edits. So here's what's really nifty. So you're working with this, and I go in here and I'm that, that annoying 5th grader, and I'm like, oop. Let me go back, I'm still in the revision. So I go here, and then I hit delete, and the whole class is like,
John!
what? And then I go back here to revision history as the teacher, and I say see revision history. And then I can go here and see, okay, 359, Donald Stern, went through all that. I can go back to this latest one and say restore this version, and now that your version's back. I've done that with a couple of students, and they think it's the coolest thing ever. Like they've lost it, they can't figure out how to do it. I go in, I download the thing, I see their revision history, get it back for them, and it's so nice to be able to see. It's an accountability feature. It's
Save your life feature.
yeah, it's a save a life kind of feature. I gotta watch my time. This is not gonna work for half an hour. This half an hour thing is not gonna work.
At some
But-
point, Don, you just have to say, are there questions?
Yeah, are there questions,
I have a question.
Rosie?
So, you shared a document with me and I have editing privileges. Can I share it with Ben?
Yes.
Why, what if I have view only privileges?
If you save it as a copy.
Yes, if you copy it, yes, you could share it. Now, there is a way, if I go in here to share again, and I do get shareable link. Oh, let's do this more. And then I say anyone with the link can edit.
Well, usually, but if you save your own copy, then you can do whatever you want with it, right?
Yes, what I was trying to find here, oh, right, this is what I wanted. So this owner settings prevent editors from changing access and adding new people. So let's say I'm the owner, but I've given you all editing privileges. This is if you go to share, and then you do advanced. You can just prevent editors from changing access and adding new people. There is kind of a nifty way here of, I'm trying to think. If you replace, and I don't know how well you can see this, let me see if I can, no, I can't zoom in on the toolbar. Up here, it says edit. After it, if I get rid of edit, and I put copy in there, and I highlight this, and copy and paste it, and I send that out. In fact, let's try it. Even though you have editing privileges, let's try this and see if it will work. This is really nice if you want to force people to make a copy. You don't want them to have yours, and even view yours. You just want it to be theirs to do with what they want. Now, it may not, because you already have the link and editing privileges, I'm not exactly sure what that's going to do. So you will need to refresh Classroom. Go ahead and open up the newest one. And what it should do, yeah, see, because you already have the link. If I started a new one, what it would do, it would come up and say, do you wish to make a copy of this? You wouldn't even be able to see the document, and you would make a copy of it, and it would go to your drive. Other questions that you have? I want to show you one other thing here. This is where we get in more to actually Google Slides, but I want to I think sometimes having, we talk about what's called an innovative mindset, trying to think about the world differently, and okay, here's this technology that I could just have them write the same old paper I've had them write, but is there something I can do differently with this? Let me find the website. I used to do this with PowerPoint. We called it animated PowerPoints, but you can do the same thing.
I have a quick question. If you want to add a bunch of slides like you were saying, do you have to do it one at a time?
Yeah, you just hit that plus sign.
Oh, you just keep.
Yep, you just keep hitting that plus sign.
Oh, okay.
I think Jess should. Yeah, Jess helped. Is everybody else's running slow? Okay. If you watch the screen, this is a 450 slide PowerPoint. I'm sorry, not PowerPoint, slide. Now, there is sound, but it will. Now, here's the presentation of that 450 slide. And you can see the slides down at the bottom just kind of rolling through. So again, we tend to think of PowerPoint and slides as this way of just, presenting information. This is what a student did, I think a 7th grade student in a science class. And it's about the idea of contraction within science. Now, and there are ways of making this so that it flows through. So this is what this 7th grader did to show the idea of what happens to contraction.
watching.
242 slides. How long do you think it took that kid to do it?
7 minutes.
It was like 35 minutes. That's it. And this teacher was like, and I didn't even, I just gave the kids this and said, here's what you need to do, and I gave them some examples. And it's basically just the idea of copying a slide and then moving the next circle here, and now copy that one and move the next slide. It's not a difficult thing to do, but this kid designed that. And so, it's one of those where there are other things to do with docs and sheets and slides besides just, I think, what we typically think about. So, okay, I really do need to shut up so that you all have time to work on whatever else, unless there are other questions. Don't forget that the time sheet is on the About tab.